that we are debuting a new segment. This is going to be the beginning of Corey's segment. We're going to call this Corey's Corner. So,
See that
Corey, what
corner?
are the thing?
That's
What
about to be
are
my corner.
Yeah, that's Corey's Corner. So, like I said, let us know what were the things that you think people need to know about from the weekend that was in MMA.
Well, from the weekend that was, I'm gonna do it in 3 point layout. Number three, starting at the low end of the stick, is and it not necessarily for any bad reason whatsoever, but Charles Jourdain. I had started to break down this fight a little bit last week, but it was kind of one of those could be a banger, could be brushed under, and man, he went out there and just performed, man, against a game Lando Vannata who literally was in there until his shorts failed him and got choked out.
Man, he choked that man out of his shorts.
Yeah, literally out of his shorts, and
Like
it was
straight up to
just
where his shorts were down around his ankles by the time he was getting choked.
yeah. And I had started to break it down a little bit on last week's show. I felt like Charles Jourdain was really starting to reach his stride, man. In his last couple fights, he's really showcased that next level. He's starting to really level up his game, and being such a young guy, he's starting to really turn that tide. I feel as though he's becoming a legitimate prospect, at least in this division at 145. So that being my third point. Point number two, PFL as a whole last week and what we got to look forward to this week come Thursday. If you're not watching PFL, man, you're really missing out. I mean, Jeremy Stevens and Clay Collard genuinely put on a potential fight of the year contender in that main event for him on event one. I
Okay, I
don't know
got
if
to
you were
ask
able
you
to check
something
that one
about
out.
that. I did watch
Yeah,
that, but my question is I'm not mad at who won, but I still can't get with that decision being 30 to 27
30
against
27.
Jeremy.
I know.
There's
I
no
know. I
way
felt the
in
same
hell
way.
Jeremy didn't. There's no
I
way
felt
he
the
didn't
same
win at
way.
least one of those rounds. Because if
I
you
know.
didn't pay attention and didn't see him crack Clay Collard shit a bunch of times
Hmm.
in that fight, I don't know what fight you were watching.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
It.
I'm not saying Jeremy won the fight, but there ain't no way in hell that was a 30 to 27, at least not in my opinion. If you guys watched that show from PFL, please let me know what you thought of that scorecard in
Yeah,
the
I
comments.
couldn't
But I
agree
had
with
to ask
that
that.
aspect of it more. He just seemed to be maybe a little outranged and a little out, paced. His speed just wasn't quite the same as what Clay Collar was able to deliver. And with the length advantage that Clay had as well, it was a tough fight for Jeremy Stevens. But that being said, I do see some real prospect for him going forward in PFL because I feel as though Clay Collard truly is one of their top 155ers. He fought for their championship last year, being unsuccessful against
And
Roush
took out
Mamipo.
Pettis, too.
Yeah, took out Pettis, and he's been on a tear. So I feel as though we haven't seen the end of Jeremy Stevens. He put on a great performance, but Clay Collard being the clear winner. That being said, flash to this Thursday, you got the heavyweights, which are always entertaining, and then following that up, you got the featherweights, which have a couple of my favorite PFL athletes in there, being like Chris Wade, Brendan Lotney. Um, what's the other guy named? I can't think of at the moment that won their belt last year. Either way, check out PFL, man. I know a lot of people kind of Kyle, you bring up the point all the time that their viewership numbers just seem to lack like real growth power, for as much money and stuff, and as honestly as good of a product as they have been putting out, and the at least want to bring in star power. It hasn't always been the most successful in their debuts and their, seasons and performances and stuff, but they're genuinely trying over there. And when you watch it, you'll be able to notice. So anybody who hasn't checked out PFL, I highly recommend it coming back this Thursday. And then my last point for Corey's Corner, one of these corners, uh, man, Jessica Andrade, one of the love her to death. I had kind of shat on her a little bit week when I said that there was more deserving main events. I tend to forget that she not only fought for the belt at 125 and put on a fairly decent performance against Valentina. Definitely got beat, but put on a fairly decent performance. Beat Rose and is now back in contendership at 115. I shoot myself in the foot once in a while. You know, what are you going to say when you talk on a mic? Shit happens. That being said, how the hell does one of the shortest fighters in all of the UFC divisions be the first ever UFC fighter to get a standing arm triangle?
I mean, look, dude, we've all established that I got screwed in the gene pool when it came to how tall I was supposed to be, because I was supposed to be 6'2" or 6'5" originally, and clearly that didn't happen. But dude, I'm telling you, like, even though when you're standing, you have a lot more wiggle room, I guess, to try to get out of an arm triangle. I've choked people standing with an arm triangle before. Like,
Yeah.
if you're good at being able to get that squeeze and you can get that tight bite and get your head butted up against that shoulder and really drive that shit through, dude, if you get it in there deep, dude, you know, here's the thing. And that's why, like you heard her say, you know, wasn't going to use it for the takedown. That forces them to do one of two things, because you have to address it. Otherwise, you're going to get choked out. And if not, you make yourself easier to be taken down. Like I said, it's, I mean, it's a gnarly submission. Any way you hit it, any way you get it. Shout out to her. And I mean, dude, if she's going to go back down there and go for that strawweight belt, dude, it's,
what a way to
know,
make
dude.
her re-debut in the division, right? To get a submission that no one has ever. To your point, Kyle, you bring it up all the time that the UFC kind of oversaturates themselves with all these cards. You know, we've got 10 plus fights almost every weekend. And so you're talking, you know, throughout the year, there's, you know, 500 plus fights, and they've been doing this schedule now for 5+ years, where it's just been on, you know, and for her to still be the first one to be able to pull it off is just, it truly was amazing to me when I heard that she was the first one. I mean, like Michael Bisping on the Believe You Me podcast had broke it down. Him and Anthony Smith were talking about it, and they both had said, yeah, we do that all the time in the gym, but it's just one of those things that never gets translated into a fight. And to see her actually implement it the way she did, and to basically cinch it up right away, like it was within 5 seconds, it was like, okay, she's about to either tap or go out. And you know, it was amazing to see. And shout out her. Like I say, I shot myself in the foot. Can't wait to see what's next for Jessica Andrade.
I agree, man. And I mean, now she's really put herself in the driver's seat when you consider she's now the #1 contender in 2 separate weight classes. Like,
it's amazing, isn't it? And she said she said she would be active in both as long as the UFC is willing to keep her ranking in both. So
now that's going to be interesting. I don't know how that's going to go on her body, because that's gnarly, dude.
yeah,
because that's gnarly to have to go from 2 different weights. Like, it might seem like only a little bit when you're talking about 10 pounds, but when you're talking about getting down to 2 different weight classes like that, that means you're going to have more weight on your frame most times as well too. Yeah, dude.
and
Now,
you could honestly see it when you just look back at her performances when she was going for the belt at 125 compared to where she looked in the cage at 115 this last weekend. She looked like she had dropped a bit of that muscle, not a ton, but just enough to like make that weight cut easier and not have to sweat weight or anything like that. So she had not necessarily thinned out, but just kind of lessened the weight training, I guess.
well, man, I agree with you. Definitely good points to pick out. Let us know in the comments what you guys think of Corey's Corner. Like I said, that's going to be a segment for Corey to kind of get get all of his MMA out of him. So all right,